The following podcast contains coarse language and adult themes. Today on the show, a very special emergency broadcast as we unpack the news of Henry Cavill's sudden departure from the DCU only weeks after announcing his return as the Man of Steel. I'm Regs.
I'm Aady.
And we are the very depressed Film Addicts podcast. I've just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October, prior to their hire, the news isn't the easiest, but that's life. Changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. For those who have been by my side through the years, we can mourn for a bit, but then we must remember, Superman is still around. Everything he stands for still exists, and the examples he sets for us are still there. My turn to wear the cape has passed, but what Superman stands for never will. It's been a fun ride with you all, onwards and upwards. Hey folks, welcome back to the Film Addicts podcast. That was a verbatim reading of Henry Cavill's statement on his social media after the announcement from the DC camp that he would no longer be returning as Superman. We're here to talk about it. It's big stuff, and I just want to preface as well, if you don't feel like pop culture and movies and superheroes and symbols of hope and joy in people's lives are anything to get upset about, you should stop listening to this podcast because, you know, me and Addie have feelings about it and they're perfectly valid. But yeah, if you're not down with that, that's okay. Next episode, perhaps. So here we are, Addie. That's hard. I really don't know where to start. Henry Cavill, wonderful Superman. Obviously debuted in Man of Steel in, what was it, 2010?
2013. 2013.
In Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and then had been Superman for, a few movies, BVS, the Justice League 2017, and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and most recently as a cameo in Black Adam, and we'll get to that shortly. But it seems he won't be going on. James Gunn and Peter Safran have decided to go with a younger Superman. They're going to be writing a new film together to relaunch. It seems like they're doing that with everything. We're gonna rap about it. So, Addie, I know it's a difficult time for you, and Superman is as a character is such a huge place in your heart. He's your hero. He's your symbol of hope. And Henry Cavill specifically, you were a child when that film came out. He is your Superman, the way that Chris Reeve is mine. I remember when Christopher Reeve was, horribly injured during a riding accident. I remember the day, it was like, oh my God, Superman he's not infallible. And then when he passed, these are real people, in costume or out of costume. And, it means something to us. Tell me what your immediate reaction was when you found this out.
I didn't believe it. I read it. I was like, I saw Henry Cavill. I saw the same thing as, I don't know, I think he announced his return with that as well. Or, no, he announced that he's going to go away from Witcher with that. And I was like, oh, it's another thing. And then I read Superman. And then I read the whole thing. And I sent it to you and I said, well, I'll just go fuck myself then.
Yeah. It's a bit of a slap in the face to a lot of people, a lot of fans. And he is right. James Gunn and Peter... I keep going to call him Peter Serafinowicz, which was the tall guy in Guardians of the Galaxy. And he also plays the Tick on Amazon, but that's not what I'm talking about. Peter Safran, they have to kind of start this thing almost from scratch, which seems antithetical considering the fan base of the Snyder-built universe. And also, they have 2 more motherfucking movies coming out. Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and the Flash movie are still slated to be released.
And Shazam.
And Shazam number 2. So, Fury of the Gods, I'm not really sure what's going on unless they do some sort of like Flashpoint kind of thing, stitch that in and everything gets reset. Ben Affleck's also had a meeting with James Gunn, and they've made it clear that he won't be returning as Batman, but he may return to DC to direct something. Give that motherfucker the Question movie, and check that shit out. But I just feel like, and I know that the Snyder fans can be quite rabid and intense, and you know, like spewing hateful shit. But there's also a subsect like yourself and like myself who just really dig his vibe. It's so different than what's being done in Marvel, and it's, you know, it's a more adult version of these characters, which is great, you know. And I watched BVS the other night, the extended version, and then the making of Zack Snyder's Justice League, because I watched that as well. And he really gives a shit. Like, you kind of think he doesn't, because he's sort of like, he's got that California twang, and he seems a bit vague sometimes, but he really does care. The motherfucker goes through the screenplay and draws every single frame. Like, not every single frame, every single shot. It takes him 3 months. You don't do that if you don't care. Honestly, like, let's be for real. Henry Cavill is his brother, and he makes roads with gravel. Henry Cavill never really got the opportunity to be the soaring version of Superman, because Man of Steel is 100% origin, and then he's Superman at the end of that picture, and then he never really got a chance, and it's a shame, and to retcon out all this stuff and start from scratch, I think they're missing a trick. I don't understand why these things can't exist alongside what else is going to be coming. There's 2 Batmans currently, like Pattinson and Affleck has, you know, been the last one. I know he's not coming back, but he's still in people's heads. Joker was Jared Leto and Joaquin. Joaquin's, you know, filming Joker 2 right now. Like, why can't you have these 2 things? They're doing a Val Zod movie as well. That's still going ahead, apparently, J.J. Abrams' script. Yeah, I think it's a real misstep. You're missing out on an opportunity to really, like, see how fucking people went nuts when he was in Black Adam. Spoilers for Black Adam, by the way, if you haven't seen it. Henry Cavill's at the end, but it now doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Before we move forward, though, I wanna hear what your reaction was.
Honestly, I thought of you immediately. I was like, this is gonna break his heart, and I was really, and it's so weird because I had just watched Man of Steel and Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, I have a tendency to, like, put stuff on in the background that I'm familiar with if I'm writing or if I'm doing admin for work or whatever. Zack Snyder's Justice League is really good for that because it's fucking long, and you get, you know, you can still hear bits and pop in occasionally and that kind of thing. And I heard all that, and then when he was announced as, you know, coming back, and he left The Witcher, which is like, a fuck. He's like, fuck you, motherfuckers, I'm gonna be Superman, see you later. And then, you know, on the 15th or whatever, it was like, you guys still got my dressing room? And Hemsworth Light was like, get fucked, mate. Why am I doing an Australian accent? I've done that before. He just sounds like me. And you know, Witcher. But then, you know, we have also found out that Henry Cavill will now star in an Amazon-produced series based on Warhammer, which he's really excited about because he's a big Warhammer dude and he's such a fucking nerd, which is great. But anyway, regardless of all that, yeah, I was so happy when I heard that he was coming back, and I thought, oh, wow, okay, now we get to see the Superman movie with Brainiac or something that'll be, and like he said, it's going to be hopeful and joyful and colourful, and you put a really good director behind that. You know, we talked about it in one of our previous episodes, like who could take the mantle of this, and it's got a lot of juice, and he was so happy, he was so excited. He was in that the one-on-one interview where he was talking about it, and they had the video from Zach, and people were losing their fucking minds, and then on social media there was so much content of him just popping up, of old behind the scenes stuff of him on the set of Man of Steel and interviews he's been in. Like, he seems like a genuinely lovely person, perfect for Superman. It's gonna be a real uphill battle to replace him. That was my biggest thought. I was like, oh, okay. And I also don't understand what's going on with James Gunn. Like, I have faith in the dude. He's a great director. I like those Guardians pictures. I think his work previous was good too, like Slither and Super. And I dug his Suicide Squad. It's all getting a little bit Taika Waititi, as in he's only got one lane. So to take over Superman without it being irreverent somehow, with it actually being the symbol of truth, justice, and hope that it should be. I don't know what that is, but I also don't know this fucking snarkiness that's going on. Like where people keep atting him on social media and being like, hey, you motherfucker, and this and that and whatever, and he keeps responding. There was one the other day that was like a picture of Nightwing, and someone was like, hey, you're talking about a Lobo movie and this and that and all these B-list heroes. Why don't you give Dick Grayson? Why don't you get some dick in you? You know, like get where's that movie? And he's like, I've only been in the job a month. How did you not know that this was going to be the reaction that you were going to get when you took this job? Like, don't be a fucking dick about it. Just say, you know what, you're right. Dick is a wonderful character. We're looking into everybody. I've only just started, but wait, there's so much great stuff coming. Like,
Be civil.
Or whatever the fucking comedian, you know what I mean? Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah, I said just be civil about it. Like, James Gunn has a tendency to reply to everyone that adds him. He's not done it for me yet, but...
Because he knows you like Henry Cavill so much, he's like, oh fuck, I'm not going to open that door. This kid will tear me to shreds. You're right though. Like, have an attitude about it. Like, he's got big dick energy after not only pulling off probably the greatest unexpected success that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has ever had. No one gave a shit about Guardians. It was second out of the gate, in phase 2, and everyone was like, what the fuck is this obscure shit? And he murdered it, and it's now one of the most popular franchises in the MCU. And also, he got fired, remember?
Yeah.
And he went and did Suicide Squad, and they were like, hey, you're the only one working in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, apart from Ryan Coogler, who actually has a definitive vision. Otherwise, we're just doing these work for hire motherfuckers. Can you come back now that everybody loves you again? Like, and then to do that and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to start my job at DC months before Guardians 2 comes out. Guardians 3, rather. Like, he's got big, swinging Hollywood dick energy, and that's fine. But I just, power corrupts. Power corrupts, friends, and I don't know about it. I'm sure he's a lovely dude as well. Like, he's probably... And Peacemaker, forget about it. That's one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. And yeah, he's probably very affable and sweet and everything, but it's just... I don't understand why you need to combat your audience immediately. He's obviously very sure of himself. And rightly so, I guess.
Yeah. I want to make one thing clear. I get it. I get the decision. I don't agree with it. I get the decision. And like you said, there's an opportunity that you're missing, which is... Okay. So, before we move on, the cameos of Superman with Henry Cavill and Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot in the Flash film that were filmed prior to Black Adam and everything, those have been taken out. And
yeah, well, I mean, Wonder Woman 3 has been cancelled too, has it not?
It has, and
Yeah.
I get that the knee-jerk reaction of everything is to just stop everything and then hard reboot, because a lot of people don't understand that James Gunn and Peter Safran were thrown into the sinking ship, and they have to do everything they can to get that water out. But these...
Yeah, man, they're pitching fucking cargo into the ocean. Anything that isn't nailed down, apparently.
Yeah. And
sorry, I cut you off.
That's all right. And it hurts because Henry Cavill, and I'm just going to focus on Henry Cavill. He was not... It's not fair for him to be the collateral damage of something that wasn't in his control at all. And especially right after him announcing that he's going to return and him being so excited about it. Because the Snyder trilogy we have with Man of Steel, BVS, and the Justice League is a story of losing hope with Superman gone and then earning that hope back when Superman comes back. And then he becomes the Superman that we know, with the bright red and the bright blues soaring up in the sky. And yeah, that news came out.
It should have been The news came out. Sorry.
The news came out, and I was looking up in the sky, and I was like, "Fuck! It's an empty sky now."
Yeah, and I understand why that is distressing and upsetting to you. Like we said before, these things aren't ethereal. Like they're not. They don't. It's not that they don't exist. They do. Superman has been in people's hearts and minds since the 30s. For fuck's sake. Some kid out there right now who is whatever age I was when I first saw Superman, will find this new one that James Gunn's going to do, and that will be his Superman. Like that's kind of the thing. It gets passed down, but everybody else kind of got a fair shake in terms of playing the character, not in terms of their life. There is a whole thing about a Superman curse, actually, because a lot of people who've been involved with that character have been, in accidents or, is it George Reeves? The Superman from the TV series back in the day committed suicide. And, there's a lot of stuff around it. Brandon Routh seemed to make out okay.
Also, I don't think he committed suicide. His death is an unsolved mystery.
It's a Hollywood mystery.
That it
dun,
is.
Dun. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's kind of the thing. But there's actually a really good movie about that called Hollywoodland with Ben Affleck playing that character. Yeah, it's really good. And it's funny because he's in a Superman costume. You're like, what the fuck? But anyway, I digress again. And I forgot my point. Oh, no, that's right. Superman in whatever form, like for me, it's comics. Like I know him from comics. I've got a bunch of tattered, absolutely half destroyed Superman comics that I read over and over and over again. One of them is a great one. I'll never forget it. It's Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he is fucking with Superman and makes him a giant and then makes him small and is just like messing with his game, and it changes drawing style. So cool. There's a whole arc that I read where Bizarro comes in and he replaces Superman, and it's just like I remember them so well. And of course, Chris Reeve. But like I said, people didn't get a fair shake. Most people got a fair shake. Henry Cavill didn't. He didn't have an opportunity to embody the largest version of this character because he was waylaid by not only a critical reaction, fan base not so much, but critical reaction to these pictures, Zack's pictures. But his sequel was fucking completely hijacked by Batman. You know what I mean? Like, he is hardly in that movie. I watched it again the other night. If you watch the Ultimate Cut, it's good because there's some stuff about him like actually doing some investigative reporting and shit, which is cool. But he's even quite flat and alien, which is, I get, but it's probably the wrong way to go because he's supposed to be this human being, living in a human world, raised by human parents. And then, Justice League was what Justice League was, and we all know the problem with that. And then Zack's film comes out, and it is a good film. I enjoy that film. It's clunky in places, but at least it was Zack's vision. Superman doesn't turn up until the very end. Like, it's the last hour and 20 minutes that he's in that picture, and it's 4 hours long. Had he just been given an opportunity, like, I don't even know why they don't test the waters. Be like, okay, well, we're going to do another Superman. It's going to be a completely separate thing. And it's going to be a young Superman as he's, a upstart at the Daily Planet, which is basically what Superman Returns was. But anyway, let's let Henry do Man of Steel 2, and you just call it Superman. And you release that shit, and you brighten up the costume, and you let him have not slicked hair, have fluffy hair, and he fucking has to punch Brainiac in his stupid green face, and that's not a racist thing. He's an evil alien, and he happens to be green. It's a biological field note, if it's anything, and then just see how that goes. If it tanks, it tanks. Like, what are you gonna do? The amount of money that you're fucking losing already. Black Adam is a perfect example of that. I feel like taking a punt on it wouldn't have been a bad move.
Yeah, what hurts the most is that he was Superman for a generation that never really got Superman, and then when they finally had a sliver of hope, it was taken away from them.
It's almost more from his statement, Superman is always there. He's always the embodiment of doing the right thing. Superman is the fight to make a better place, to make the world better, constantly. And now is the time for that. Now is absolutely the time for that. It's not only do we live in troubling times where tyrants run the planet and people are completely, sorry, I just flicked my cable, completely ingrained in an online world, which is funny because you're listening to this podcast, but we appreciate you. But do go out in the sun occasionally, please. And everything nothing's tactile anymore. And we had the 2 years of COVID, and it's kind of COVID season 3. If you think about it, there's a lot going on still. Superman is the perfect character for right now. More than Batman, and more than anything Marvel's doing, expanding their universe like forwards without much sort of idea of what these things mean anymore. Superman will always mean Superman. That symbol on his chest is, I think, the second most recognizable symbol on planet Earth after the fucking cross and maybe the Star of David, and then it's Superman. Like, that means something. And if you don't think it does, then you're naive as shit. There's no reason why you can't have two Supermen. One of them can be this new version, like I said, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can give him 2 feet for hands and 2 hands for feet. Like, whatever it is. He could be Monkey Superman. He absolutely could. Give Henry Cavill a movie to prove himself the Superman of Addy's generation. Obviously not my generation because I'm 1168 years old. But absolutely Addy's generation. Like, you grew up with this guy and he only got a couple of pictures. I mean, Chris Reeve only got 4 as well. But
yeah, but those are 4 Superman films.
4 Superman movies, all for soups,
Well, it's that thing that hurts the most is that it's fine if he had left because he was Superman for 9 years. But you only gave him 1 Superman film. Like, that second one is not a Superman film at all. It's Batman v Superman. There's a reason why Batman is...
Dawn of Justice! Sorry. I love saying that. It's so silly.
Yeah, there's a reason...
I cut you off.
There's a reason why Batman is before Superman in that title. And I don't know, man. I'm going to say the thing that I said when we were talking about it. That all this feels like we were part of this fucking joke. A sick fucking joke at the expense of the fans and Henry Cavill. It was like the last decision that David Zaslav could make, where he was like, hey, let's just have this and fuck with the fans and see whatever the fuck that James Gunn can do. Like, yeah. And
it's a real slap in the face.
You gave him 1 Superman film, and that's fine, but he was Superman for so many people and for so long. It's even hard to like just say it because Superman teaches us to have empathy first, to love no matter what, and at times like this we need Superman. But fuck, man, it's I fucking cried when I read that because there's no way that I will never be able to see a Superman film and not think about Henry Cavill, because Henry Cavill is the reason why I love Superman, and I can't separate the two. Mainly because I don't want to. And I'm really happy that he's going for Warhammer. I'll probably watch it without knowing jack shit. But there's so many possibilities that you could do with it. Like, have the Snyderverse be an Elseworld whole thing. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
Like, the fucking Flash film has 3 fucking Batman in it. Or what? 2.
That's a lot of Batman.
Yeah, there's 2 Batman and 2 fucking Flashes in that. If going forward we replace Superman, which we're not going to replace Superman with Supergirl, because Supergirl's first and last appearance is going to be the Flash film.
That's the other thing as well, is just like, it's so... Sorry to cut you off. It's so disrespectful to all of these people. Like, you remember the video of that girl getting told she was going to be Supergirl? She lost her fucking mind. Like, imagine being, a just post-teenage girl saying, oh, you're about to play Superman's cousin. And put the S on the chest. Like, and yet for some reason Ezra Miller keeps getting an opportunity, keeps getting a shot, even though they do not embody the spirit of Barry Allen at all, and yet this young girl doesn't get a shot. Henry Cavill doesn't get his shot. Like, it's the most backwards ass logic, and I can't profess to understand it either. Like, Hollywood top level thinking baffles me on a level that makes, I think I would struggle in that environment. If I was given the opportunity to do something, and then, you know, corporations were making these things, because that's what it is. We talked about it last night. Like, it's got to be a money thing. They're losing money. They're spending a lot of money on these pictures. Black Adam's probably scared the shit out of them because of its budget size and because it hasn't done as well as they would have wanted it to. Hard reboot is the way to go. But don't pretend like it has anything to do with artistic integrity or story, because it just doesn't.
Yeah. And no, there's a sentiment of just how one Justice League film to just say goodbye to these characters. Because see, the setup, like, I imagine watching the Avengers in 2012, and like the last fucking scene of that film is a portal, and on one side of the portal are the 6 OG Avengers, and the other side is fucking Thanos. And then not having that build up or continuing that story ever again. That's how I feel, because we won't get any kind of Deathstroke. There's no fucking setup for whatever the fuck the nightmare world was. There's no redemption of Superman anymore. There's no continuation of Lex, which I think could have been a really good take of Lex. I don't hate that Lex Luthor. I just hate his hair. That's all, because he's not bald.
Well, he doesn't have it towards the end, so that's kind of rectified. But you're right. I mean, there's what it seems to me, or what it feels to me, is it's really fucking messy. It's all really messy. Like, it was Marvel's phase 1 and 2 and 3, tight as fuck for the most part, up until, you know, they're all going towards Endgame, and you feel that a lot. DC has tried to course correct so many times. It's just like tendrils. They're going in every direction, and nothing kind of sticks. The only thing that is, you know, because let's not, a mistake here, ladies and gentlemen, Henry Cavill started this. Man of Steel was the beginning of all of this shit, and he was ground zero for what this would end up being, and Zack is what the aesthetic would be. And they keep trying to change it when probably they should have. And look, I'm not 100% behind it, all the decisions and everything like that, but at least it was a clear vision. And someone said the other day on another podcast, it was the We Hate Movies podcast that I talk about all the time, and Chris Cabin, one of the guys on that, who's a film reviewer when he's not doing the podcast, said all of these dudes, like James Cameron, is popular because, you know, Avatar's popular stuff, because it is very, very clearly his film. It is a singular vision. He has a style. He has an ethos. He has a way to do these things. And all of these dudes who are like that are starting to get more attention. How long was Michael Bay a punchline? Like, seriously, he was a joke for so long because everyone was like, oh, for fuck's sake, he's just this, and he doesn't know how to direct people, and explosions and blah, 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 Transformers movies, guff. And then he comes out with something like Ambulance, and everyone's like, actually, this is baller. He's using real squibs. There's drone work in here. This is really cool. And it's a singular vision. It looks like a fucking Michael Bay picture. Zack's the same. Zack has, you know, done these things, and now he's going to go and do Rebel Moon, and people are going to lose their shit when that comes out because it's going to look like something, as opposed to these cookie cutter, stock standard versions of all these characters. Like, I love Sam Raimi, but it didn't look like he directed Multiverse of Madness. It was maybe 2 or 3 flourishes. Otherwise, he was work for hire, and that's okay. That's cool to do that, but don't pretend like they all have an artistic singular vision, because they don't. They all look kind of aesthetically, they all look the same. And I know that you need to do that when you're building a universe of all these different characters. But the thing that made the original sort of MCU, the first few pictures, interesting was because they all did feel really different.
I think that's what was going for DC. That was so drastically different from the MCU. And I fear that we're gonna be in that era of DC having a linear story and having like a Batman or a Joker film every fucking 4 years.
Yeah. And it's also that's probably what will happen. You'll start to lose all this stuff. Like Joker 2 will be the last one. You'll have Flash and the Aquaman pictures, and that'll be that. They won't do anything anymore. Like they can't set anything up. You'll have all this stuff get swept under the rug and ignored, and they'll start again. But then think about it, all right? If they want to chart some sort of success the way that Disney has had with the MCU, it's going to take them a decade. Like they're all like, oh, we're going to do James Gunn and this dude's going to do a Superman movie, and there's going to be Lobo, and we're going to have this, and we're going to have that. And it was like, okay, but all of this, like none of this is on paper yet. It is ideas in the ether. It's going to be, do you know how long it takes to write a fucking movie? A long damn time, I'll tell you that much. And that's before you get a director, before you get a star, before you get the thing in front of a camera, before you edit it, before you visual effects. Like this Superman movie that James Gunn's talking about making is 5 years away at best.
At best.
So in the interim, fucking do the one with goddamn Man of Steel and use the Man of Steel sequel and use the script that's already been written by Stephen McKnight. I said McKnight then. He's not a nugget. What's going on? He's just Stephen Knight, I think. The guy who created Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, Stephen Knight.
Can I get a cheeseburger and a Big Mac and 2 Stephen McKnights? Thanks very much. Cheers. And he comes out and gives you nuggies. Idiot. But yeah, like what if that's more ready to go, what's the fucking harm? Billions and billions of dollars, Regan.
Yeah, and you said that let Ben Affleck do the Question film.
Yeah.
I think Ben Affleck would be a perfect director for a Nightwing film.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, man, do it. It's he would have the aesthetic for it, absolutely. If you do a film like The Town, but instead of like with that kind of feeling, that kind of like high octane crime drama shit. And there's some bits of humor in that as well and stuff. But like instead of Boston, it's Nightwing, it's Bloodhaven. Like, yeah, man, fucking hey Ben, I know you're listening because you love this podcast. Do it, son. Get in. So this is what it's going to be. Henry's stepping down, and we're all going to miss him. Most of us, I guess, and. Let's try and move forward again with hope and optimism about what the possibilities are, but never forget what he meant to us in that character and as the clearly beautiful human being he is. Addie, what are your kind of final thoughts before we get into questions and comments from the fans?
Like I said, Henry Cavill is the reason I love Superman. I remember watching the first Man of Steel film when it came out with my cousin brother in fucking 3D. It was the first 3D movie I ever watched. And I remember that first flight that he takes and the pressure building around his fist with the snow cracking up and him taking that flight. I remember just losing my shit and first time crying out of excitement. I never felt that before. I was fucking 9 years old, and I watched BVS, and I don't quite remember my experience with that. I did watch it in theaters. But I felt fucking horrible when Superman dies. But I was hopeful that he might return. I love the MCU, but there's not one film that the MCU has made that's made me cry out of excitement the way that Man of Steel did when I first saw him take that flight and test his powers for the first time and find the reason why he was sent to this planet. And when he shows up in Black Adam, it's the first time that I ever felt the same as I did when I watched that. And it's the reason why I screamed and I fucking froze up, because I was like, shit, my Superman's back. Superman's fucking back, and it hurts, and I guess it's supposed to hurt because I don't give a fuck whatever people say. Like, I'm not gonna question myself for loving something so much that it makes me cry when it's not fulfilled. And Superman means so much to so many people, and it's more than just being a symbol of hope. It's this idea of being a part of something. It's the idea of just having empathy first, just going with love and having the positivity and it's about representing the best that humanity can be. Like, I know the Doctor Who fans right now, they're like, well, we go through this every 6 years. I'm like, go fuck yourself, man.
No, that's very, very different. But you know it's coming.
Yeah, and
You know at some point it's coming. Like Henry Cavill could have been Superman for another 10 years.
he could have been, and that's what it hurts, because he's Superman for 9 years, and he never got a chance to. He was wasted. His talent was wasted in those 9 years, where he got to the closest that we were able to get to Superman. That soars in the sky, that gives people hope, is when he returns in Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's fucking cheesy, and I hate to bring this up, but in the theatrical cut, he shows up and he says, "I'm a fan of justice." I just lost my shit.
Or just as simple as at the end of that picture, and he does it in the Zack Snyder cut as well, but he's wearing the black, the regeneration suit. But the last, almost the last frame of that picture is him opening the shirt, and that's what I hear. But you know what I mean? Like that should have been the beginning of something.
And I was treated that way. It was the beginning of an era of a hopeful world, and a hopeful Superman. And Superman is my hope. He's my dream. He's what I aspire to be in any way that I can. And Henry Cavill gave me that hope. He gave me that strength to say that fuck it. If nobody else does it, at least I have the courage to just do it as well as I can. And that's what was taken away from me. And I will always remember that. And nothing that comes after this will ever measure up to my love for him. And I love him, and I hope that he does amazingly well in everything that he's in, and he will always be my Superman. And I hope that this episode just helped at least someone to connect with what they were feeling, because it's a hard time with no Superman. We're in a world without hope, and and the Justice League that we have, in air quotes, is a team without a leader. And as far as we know, that team is not going to exist for long.
No, it certainly doesn't look like it.
But yeah, those are my final thoughts.
Good, very succinct, and I'm sorry that this is a difficult time for you, and I know you'll find your way back to hope, because it's still out there. You'll always be able to go back to Man of Steel. No one's ever going to take that away from you, and also, these things mean something because they're the new American mythology, really. Like these things have resonance with people because they are stories of greatness, of, like you said, what you want to aspire to be. If you can read a Superman comic, if you can watch a Superman cartoon, or watch the Henry Cavill film, or the Chris Reeve, or fucking anybody, whatever, and take some sort of moral lesson from it, of to do good and be kind and help people wherever you can, and try and be a hero in the smallest everyday life way that you can in your life, that's a beautiful thing. These things can't mean more than that. And also, let's not forget, Superman was created by two Jewish immigrants, and it's almost literally the story of Moses, and that is an important thing to state, because if you want to find meaning in anything, I think you couldn't find it in a better place. Like these two guys who came from a civilization of people who were powerless at points, especially the way that they were treated when they were artists within the comic book community, to give the ultimate immigrant, the person from a far off land who came to do good, to give him such agency, and to have it be something that's endured for so long, that can't not mean something. So good luck, Henry. We'll see you in whatever next. Check out The Night Hunter. Anybody who's interested in seeing some cool Henry Cavill, it's a fucking baller-ass picture. And for me, personally, my final thoughts are, I wonder why The Rock stopped following the Black Adam Instagram page.
Fuck.
I don't know.
We didn't talk about that.
It might be like He's been like, fucking, he was so big on his like trying to not say Superman every time he was interviewed. He's like, the power is shifting and it's welcome home. Like, he tried so hard to fucking keep it under the rug, and everyone's like, it's Superman, isn't it, Dwayne? Like, we all knew. Henry turns up, and then Black Adam apparently doesn't do well as they want it to. People are saying that he's misreporting some sort of earnings on it or whatever. And then they're like, oh, by the way, Henry Cavill's no longer Superman. And after all this huge build-up, and he's just like, fuck yous, and bounced. So, interesting shit.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least. Because I want nothing to do with that, because I don't want to see James Gunn's neck fucking broken by The Rock.
He would twist him like a goddamn pretzel. And he'd be a ball. He would be a little James Gunn ball you could do dunks with. Telling you, he'd appreciate that. He used to work for Troma. Yeah, I mean, that's time will tell on what that is. I'm sure Dwayne will make himself very clear at some point, because there's just too much brouhaha on the internet about it.
Yeah.
So did we have anybody make any comments or questions for this? I know you put up a post about it.
Yeah, we have a few. Do you feel comfortable with? Because I think the most asked question is, who do you want to be replaced? Who do you want to be the next Superman? Do you feel comfortable?
Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's son, Benry Cavill. Benry, that's not a name. So we want to speculate about casting?
Yeah. But do you feel comfortable doing that? Because I'm fine with it. I like you said, like this episode is just talking about Henry Cavill, so I don't think it would make sense for us to have that. But if you do have the answer, then sure, go for it.
I don't, honestly. Like, if the question is, people are asking who should replace Henry, I have no idea. There isn't anyone currently that pops out at me. There's a bunch of photoshopped images of Tom Holland.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you kidding me? He's a whip of a boy. Like, Superman's got to be Superman, even though they kid Spider-Man, but whatever. I reckon that they do the same thing that they did with Chris Reeve and Henry Cavill. They go for someone who isn't that known, who isn't that famous. Because Superman, even unlike Batman, Superman is the star. Superman is the hero that you get. And then the movie builds around him. So you don't have to cast someone who's already known. Like, back in the day, they wanted to cast fucking Robert Redford or Paul Newman. Even fucking James Caan got a look in. Like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. There's no way.
And Nick Cage.
Sean Penn. They were talking about Sean Penn when Kevin Smith was writing the Superman Lives picture that Tim Burton was going to direct that never happened. John Waters, the director, the producer, was like, Sean Penn. I'm like, Sean fucking Penn? Are you serious? Is this Superman going to be smoking cigarettes? Like, Jesus. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Wait, was it Superman smoking cigarettes, Jesus? Or was it Superman smoking cigarettes like Jesus?
Smoking cigarettes like Jesus. Yeah, it's Jesus smokes cigarettes, absolutely. He's just looking down on us going, you fucked it up. You fucked it all up. Jesus Christ. And now Henry Cavill's not even going to be Superman anymore, you sons of bitches. Hey, Moses, check this shit out. They're fucking up your whole game. That wasn't me being Moses, by the way. That was just me being silly. Yeah, so I don't know. I reckon they go with an unknown. Even Brandon Routh was unknown as well. So I think, yeah, let's keep that going and see who this kid might be. What about you?
I do have an answer. I'm not comfortable.
Ooh.
I am not comfortable talking about that.
Oh, come on. We do it off air, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. I get to watch the deleted scenes and you don't. Were there any other questions?
Yeah, so that's like just one question. We have 3 more. How do you feel about the Soups movie that James Gunn is writing? He's not directing, though. He's just writing.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it if he made a movie that was just about soup. Be amazing. Be like Ratatouille 2, but just focusing on soup.
Okay, it's SUPES. It's not.
Oh, soups. Sorry. That's ridiculous, Regan. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if. I mean, he certainly has the heartwarming sensibilities if you look at the Guardians movies, but his comedy's also very blue, and not that I have a problem with that, but I just have a problem with that with my Superman. It's like you don't mix some things. And like I said before, it's that Taika Waititi-ness of it where he kind of has to play into what people expect because it's his picture, because it's what he's writing, even if he's not directing it. I just feel like the aesthetic's wrong. Yeah, but then again, I don't know what the alternative is either. You know, who would write that? I mean, I still reckon Brad Bird would be amazing.
Brad Bird would be fucking amazing writing a Justice League film.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah. I forget what I said. You do that. We'll give him Superman, and then you know, and then a Superman sequel, and then Justice League down the road or whatever. But yeah, I just feel like he has the... I mean, watch Iron Giant and fucking tell me he won't make an amazing Superman picture. Like,
and then watch fucking Incredibles, the time where he will make a good Justice League film.
Yeah. Or Ratatouille, or that fucking Ghost Protocol number. Like, he would be a really good pick. Or Greta Gerwig.
I think that they're gonna stop after Flash comes out, because I think that's gonna be the last of the Snyder cast. And there are rumors about like Jason Momoa like going off from Aquaman and then coming back in as Lobo, which
I'm kind of cool with that.
Yeah, it's just fuck it. I'm just gonna say it. I think moving forward, it's gonna be a bit of a problem, because I think James Gunn and the upcoming DCU is gonna get caught up in the brightness of these larger than life characters, and we won't be able to get a film like Man of Steel where it's about a man trying to find himself in a place where he doesn't belong.
Yeah.
It's going to be about hope and everything, but it's not going to be about doubt. Like, I love Man of Steel because at the end of that film, you get a sliver of hope, but it's all about a man that has so much responsibility and blames so much on himself that he's so lost in that film. And then when he finds the reason why he's here, he gives it his all to just protect the people that he loves. And then he realizes that this world is what he loves. The scene where Superman comes back to life in Justice League and fucking destroys the Justice League, that's Superman without being raised by the Kent family.
Yeah, yep.
Like, that's the Superman that's going to take over Earth and make it the colony of Krypton and do the mission that Zod failed to do.
Mm.
And I think
Bottle City of Candor, bitches.
Yeah. I think that
wasn't me calling you bitches, everyone. I was just...
Hey.
Bitches as an exclamation. But yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
But yeah, I think we're going to have a bit of problem with throwing up hope in the air. If that makes any sense.
The way you do it as well is like you can't play into the conventions that have already been done. Like, Man of Steel was a severe departure from the real origin of Superman, but it was cool. It was an interesting take, and you know, wonderful. Let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Let's not do origin again. Take a leaf out of Spider-Man's book, the MCU Spider-Man's book. He's already in the Cape. He's already well established. He's been Superman or the Batman. The Batman's been the Batman for 2 years or whatever. He's already Superman. He's already in a relationship with Lois. She already knows. Like, let's just start with a fucking adventure and let it happen and let the emotion you know, build from inside that, as opposed to setting all that stuff up that everybody already knows. And Ma and Pa Kent are both still alive, for fuck's sake. Would you stop killing Pa Kent? That's not what happens. He's currently alive in the comic books, and it's amazing because he gets to have conversations with Superman about what it is to take the super out of it. You know what I mean? And that's not a masculine thing at all. It's just about, you know, a person growing up and having a relationship with his father and what that means to you as a man or as a person, whatever you choose to be. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's so much beautiful ground to cover there that doesn't have anything to do with my dad's a ghost and he's telling me about the time that the fucking, the horse is drowned. Which is an interesting scene in BVS. You know where he goes up to the mountains and you think he's going to go to the Fortress of Solitude and then doesn't? And he meets his dad, and his dad's a ghost, and he's like, the flood came and we blocked off the waters, but unfortunately it made the river flow downstream, and all the Lang farm got flooded and it killed all their horses while I was eating my hero cake. It's just a weird pull. Like, I like Kevin Costner, but he's a really, really stern, dark version of what I think Jonathan Kent could be. I think he's, the Glenn Ford version's a little bit better.
The only part where his Jonathan Kent shines is not when he's not on screen. It's the voiceover in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Absolutely.
Where it's him at the end saying, "Fly, son, it's time."
It's time. It's time is that's the one that gets you, because he's the one who's, the kid sitting in the back of the truck. He's just saved. There's the school kids, and Pete Ross is dobbing him in for pushing the bus out of the water, and he's like, "What was I supposed to do? Let him die?" And he's like, "Maybe." Like, are you fucking serious? You don't understand your own kid. Why don't you go and die in a tornado? Anyway, what's the next question, Addie?
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool, man.
Right. Next question is: you all think that James Gunn is gonna keep the Peacemaker cast and the Suicide cast, or reboot? I think, like, when he started with Peacemaker, I think, like, there's no way that the Suicide Squad and the Peacemaker cast is going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they're already shooting season 2, so I say that'll be whatever it is, but they won't do another Suicide Squad picture. I don't think Margot Robbie will come back either.
Why?
I just don't think, like, looking at the let's call it reading the terrain of what's going on. I don't see it happening. I really don't.
You know what's a shame? In all of this, we lose a potential to maybe make a sequel to The Birds of Prey.
Fuck right. I know that movie is fucking balls to wall awesome. Like, it is the best of all of them, in my opinion. We talked about that before. Yeah. That's my number one DC picture. I fucking love it. And, a huge misstep. The audience wasn't there. I don't know.
And you know what? I'm going to take a page out of your book and say, if you don't like Birds of Prey, you're a fucking sexist.
You're a sexist and a racist, and a racist and a sexist. It's true. There's lots of people of colour in that picture. It's fantastically inclusive. But it was also just a really fucking awesome picture. It was just it was huge, big fun, silly. Margot Robbie was on point. Yeah, it's fucking Rosie Perez, fucking wearing that t-shirt that says, "I washed my dick for this." Like, fucking just the best. It's really good. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's a shame. But as far as that question goes, Peacemaker, yes. Everything else, that's it, under the rug. No, it never happened. Don't look. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. That kind of thing.
I doubt that will happen.
You think?
And here's my pitch. Because of course I have a pitch.
I can't wait.
You do a Suicide Squad film. Call it Suicide Squad. That's it. Oh no, fuck, that was the first one. Let's not do that again. That was
the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a colon.
Yeah.
Give it a colon something.
Yeah, like, let's call it like...
Suicide Squad : erections.
Fuck it. Yeah, let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have like a good old adventure, and like at the end of that film have Harley and Ivy be a couple, and let that be the end of Harley's story in DC.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, you do a pun, like a plant pun, in the colon, or in the subtitle. So it's Suicide Squad :
global warming.
Global warming's pretty good. Global warming is actually pretty good. Or something like, it'll come to me after the podcast. It'll be like the most amazing play on words ever, But yeah, and Ivy is introduced as the villain, and they fucking get it on. and they're like, I don't mean get it on as in like they have sex. I mean, they can, that's totally fine, but they're more like, oh, I'm supposed to be fighting this woman and I'm supposed to be fighting this woman, and there's sparks, there is electricity here. Because they're my favorite couple in the DC universe. I love them as a couple because they're so different.
You're right. And like have that like internal the internal struggle, right?
Oh, sure. Yep.
Of both of them having to meet each other and hardly internally going, fuck, I see her point. She's not like 100% wrong. And Ivy going, fuck, I don't think she's actually a villain. And like,
and she's kind of cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Take like major parts of like the Harley Quinn show with Ivy and Harley's characters and put it in, because that's what we want.
Yeah, that's perfect. And the series, the comic series that bridges the second and third season of that show, which is done in that animation style, the subtitle of that was called was it Bang, Marry, Kill? Like, just call it that. Suicide Squad, Bang, Marry, Kill. And everybody gets a love story. It'd be great. Just do it.
Oh, I got it. I got the title.
Okay. Here we go. Drum roll, everyone.
Suicide Squad, The Green Wedding.
The Green Wedding. That's amazing, because not only is it a green wedding, it's also a fucking joke about not Lord of the Rings. What's it called?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Oh, fucking cut that check. That's, yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to start writing this. We're gonna have to start writing this. No one's gonna listen to us otherwise.
And like at the end, like all of them get married, and it's like the Suicide Squad in the Suicide Squad, like in like King Shark is like the best man, and because of course he is.
Fantastic.
And like she calls what the fuck? What's her name? Viola Davis in what's the character's name? Shit.
Viola. It is Amanda Walker.
Yes, thank you. Like have Harley make a deal with Amanda Waller, not Walker.
Waller, not Walker. Yeah, Walker is the Texas Ranger. Sure. Yep. Okay.
And have her make a deal that she and Ivy go and have nothing to do with this world, and she turns in each and every member of the Suicide Squad, and then they both go live happily ever after. Like,
I like it.
Because like
it.
in the Red Wedding, like all the major characters die. So, you know.
They spoilers for Game of Thrones if you give a shit, but that's what happens.
I don't give a shit. I've realized that about myself now. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I watched up to that, and then there was a huge gap between seasons, and then I came back, I'm like, I don't know who anybody fucking is. I have no idea, I've forgotten it all. It can't mean that much. To me, anyway. What's the last question?
Yeah. I don't actually want to do the last question because that was a great pitch.
It was. We're for our Harley show, our Harley movie.
All right. Oh fuck! It's thoughts on the upcoming DCU.
I mean, see the previous hour of the podcast, I guess. I mean, I'm a positive person. I go in thinking, if you give these properties to people who have vision and who care about them and believe that these characters have something to say about who we are as human beings, comment on humanity and the state of the world, and give people hope and clarity and joy and all that, and that it's done for artistic reasons. There are choices being made for artistic reasons. Absolutely. If you're just going to get a bunch of hired guns in here to make you money, you can get fucked.
So Gunn's going to hire
Full
a bunch
stop.
of guns? Cool.
His gun is going to hire a bunch of guns. And no, I just don't want to be like, hey, here's this dude who's directed 3 episodes of fucking Moon Knight. Or actually, that would be pretty cool. But, 3 episodes of some popular TV series that's come out within the last 5 years.
Twin
and they're
Peaks.
like, here, have a huge, big movie. Like, yeah. Well, the dude who directed the last Terminator movie and also Thor 2. Like, he was just a guy, a work-for-hire dude who was a director on Game of Thrones. I'm sure he's very talented, but it's like, get people in here who will make these things look like something, as opposed to just the carbon copies of everything that's come before. That's my idea. What about you?
Just going off your idea.
Nice
first.
day for a green wedding.
Man, fuck, we actually gotta do that now. Like, I really want to do that.
I've got some time. Let's do it. Sorry, you were saying your thoughts on the possibilities.
Yeah. I'll tell my thoughts later. But just going off your point, yeah, I agree with it, and I think there's gonna be a lot more color. Like you see the DC films now, and there's color in them. They're beautiful looking films, but there's also some sort of desaturation in them, right? Like you see Civil War. Like the best example I can give is you see Civil War, and you see the trailer, or just fuck it, just let's see a trailer for Civil War and see the trailer for Thor: Love and Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
right? Excluding all the themes and everything in Civil War, but just the way it looks, right? I think there's gonna be a lot more color in it, and I don't like saturated shit. Like I want my films to be heavy on the contrast, but not so much
Yeah.
like it's 300 where you're like, fuck it, man. I can't.
That's a touch extreme, but he was going for a very specific look because it was emulating a graphic novel. I agree too. Like I get you're talking about getting good directors and good writers. Get good DPs in on this stuff. Get fucking it's Johannes Kaminski, the guy who shoots for Spielberg, and get in Roger Deakins. Like
He's still
if you
kicking
can,
around, right? He's like fucking 80 years old. He's still kicking around. Get him to do
I
like
know.
just one single fucking. Fuck it. Let's just make him be the DP of Superman film.
He would be an amazing choice for that. Let him do a directorial debut as well. Shit, like forget about it, or get him to do a Lobo picture. Like imagine a Lobo picture that looks like Blade Runner 2049. I mean, fuck, it would have people fucking coming into their handbag, I nearly said. Like, what the fuck am I talking about? Why would they be doing that? Why would you be at the cinema watching a film, a Lobo film, which DP'd by
Roger Deakins.
the wonderful, the beautiful, stately and regal fucking, I've forgotten his name, Roger Deakins. And then everyone's just in the cinema coming into handbags. That makes no sense. Okay, but yeah, you're right. I enjoy contrast. I enjoy lights and darks as opposed to this flat cartoon-looking kind of vibe that is easier to replicate in CG, I guess, because that's another thing as well. Let's start doing some of this stuff practically.
They have to. So much of Zack Snyder's Justice League, so much of Man of Steel was practical. Like just the sets.
Yeah, like they actually went on location to places and stuff. And I went to see the Cameo Cinema that I go to all the time here in Melbourne. Is doing a Spielberg retrospective before The Fabelmans coming out, and they've got a bunch of his pictures playing that I've gone to see. So I went and saw Sugarland Express, and last night I went and saw Munich, which is amazing. If you get an opportunity to see Munich, that is a really underrated picture. But I went and saw War of the Worlds on Wednesday, which I didn't see at the cinema. And that's a CG heavy picture, but it's all enhanced. Like, it's like, okay, well, the tripods are going to be CG, but then they have practical versions close up. Some of the effects are going to be CG, particularly the ferry sequence, but it's all holding hands with this practical effects stuff of, cars getting flipped and glass getting thrown at things and buildings cracking in half and, trucks, like army trucks going up over hills and huge explosions, practical explosions. And there was another thing, what was I watching? Munich last night. Squib. I mean, you're not going to get squibs in a Superman picture, but actual squibs as opposed to digital blood splatter. Like, let's get back to some craft here, where it's not like, hey, visual effects artists, we know you're tired, do fucking everything. Let's get back to craft. That's my thing. Yeah. And I don't mean the cheese making company. In Australia, there's a company called Kraft that makes cheese. Yeah, so I don't know. I completely lost our train of thought. What was the fucking question?
Yeah, my closing thoughts on just the DCU. Please. Upcoming DCU is I'm faithful in James Gunn, but I've lost all hope. And that's okay. That's okay. We're allowed to mourn. Like, Superman wears the black suit because he's mourning his loss of powers. Or some shit. I'm sorry.
In the comics, that black costume is regeneration suit. He doesn't have all of his powers when he is resurrected after the death of Superman. And I mean, in the comics, he was gone for nearly a year, and there were the replacement super people. recently in the comics, he's been off-world. He was fighting on another planet. He was enslaved on a place called Warworld. And Jonathan Kent, his son, was the main Superman on planet Earth. So there's lots of things you can do, and you do. The absence of him is not. It's never permanent, and it's not. It doesn't completely destroy everything. Like, you don't feel hope right now. Hope burns eternal. Like, it will come back in some form.
And his departure not being permanent is so much like the departure of hope not being permanent. It's like it goes hand in hand, man. It's a beautiful character, and even though there's loss and there's a lot of feelings going on, when I look to the stars, I'm gonna see Henry Cavill as Superman.
And I guarantee you, if he heard that, he would love it. He must be getting the outpour of support for him must be fantastic at the moment. But I'll say to you, as we close, folks, what I said to Addie when we first got on the call before we started recording, some really great advice when you're feeling down about Superman or about whatever the fuck. Like, it doesn't matter if you're having a rough time. This always helps me. Tom Hanks was in an interview, and he said one of the most important lessons he ever learned was, "This too shall pass." If you're feeling down, if you don't have hope, if you feel like everything is elusive and you have no grounding whatsoever, this too shall pass. If you feel great, if you have all the hope and all the faith in the world, and you're kicking life's ass, this too shall pass. Everything is transient. The only thing that is constant is change, and change is okay, because it just means that we get to grow as people. And so, Henry Cavill, go and grow, my friend. Go and have a wonderful career. We'll be watching, buddy. We'll be watching.
So that's it, I guess.
That's it. That's our special bonus emergency broadcast, the Superman Paradox. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming next week.
Remember I sent you the Spotify rap thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's fucking weird, man. It's 2,205 hours that we've done.
Yeah.
And it's...
So just a little bit of context for everybody. The Spotify, sends out some stuff at the end of the year to let you know, like, what you've been listening to and how much you've been listening to it and blah, blah, blah. But, obviously Addie was creating content on Spotify for this podcast, and he's the tech. I do the editing of the show, and then he uploads it, and that's kind of the system we have with. And yeah, so what is it, 2,000?
Yeah, so the whole thing is you created 2,205 minutes of new content. That's more than 89% of other creators in your category.
Holy shit. Well, there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed having us all up in your ears for those 2,000 hours or whatever it was, 2,000 minutes. We've had an absolute blast doing it. This is one of the highlights of my week every time we record. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. And fly high.